How's it going, everyone? Runt9 here, and welcome back to another episode of Runt9 Plays City Skylines, the City of Pyradian, episode number 4. So what you're seeing here is I did a tiny little bit of building off camera, not much, but as I'm sure you can kind of guess by these two little ramps here, and what I've got going on up here, which, by the way, I most certainly did buy this tile, which is also going to give us access to the train, which is potentially going to be important. Although I didn't exactly leave myself room down here to utilize it, but an outer loop is a thing that could occur. And my keyboard is being wonky. That's always fun. But that's really all I did offline, is basically I wanted to start proving out the concept of running this highway under the city using this set of ramps here and potentially another set on one of these further out rings, and then continuing the highway down here, and at least for the moment just exiting off onto this outer ring. And this is obviously going to be expensive. I don't expect this to go particularly well for us. But what this allows you to do is, if you need to go into this part of the city, for the most part, you just take this one little exit onto here. But if you need to dive deep into the heart of the city, well, you take the highway, obviously. And so what we're going to do here is go underground. And that's not quite what I'm going for there. Let's go down to there. -12 should be good. And basically, I want to run this all the way through the city. Alright, that seems good. Can we get it on 180-degree angle? We can. And then we will do the same thing here. And then obviously we will need to reverse it, but we'll figure that out in just a minute. Keep it at 180 degrees, and then bring this down here. In fact, we will probably want to start coming out of the tunnel a little sooner. Did I not actually connect that? Did I just completely botch that up? Oh no, I need to go in and reverse it. And I think this will be... Nope, don't want to do that. I think this will be a fun way to leverage a highway. Now granted, I don't like building underground, mostly because it's much harder to see the traffic patterns this way. When you're looking at this view, it's kind of difficult to see how backed up is the highway getting. But you can tell here, at least, this was never going to work, and still may end up being a source of much pain. But hopefully this will net us some sort of fun effect. That's definitely not what I want. Can you go down to -12 and hook into the highway, please? I'm very confused as to what it thinks it's doing here. Oh, come on, keyboard. So we're going to try to do this like so. Okay, I don't know why it kept thinking that it wanted to go up on that. I'm going to try to use move it to smooth this curve out, or make it a bit straighter. That could work too. I'm okay with that. That's fine. It's kind of a bit of a tight curve, but it's not the worst thing in the world. Not the worst thing I've ever built. And then we'll do the same thing down here. In fact, I'm going to just force this to tunnel. And we'll probably want to come off about right here. There we go. So I think that'll be a fun way to get traffic down there, and then we just need a way for the highway to exit up here. And I think we start trying to bring the tunnel up, and we can actually exit the traffic view. We don't need that right now. We're going to bring the highway up sooner rather than later with the straight tool. Space already occupied. Let's bring it up as much as we can, about right there. And then bring it out of the tunnel there. Then go back down and do the same thing down here. Bring it up as much as possible, which will be to 8 meters. And then bring the tunnel out there. Now we will need to reverse this side, which we need to view underground, which I cannot view right now. There we go. And then we just kind of need to connect these together onto some sort of main thoroughfare. Now I realize that it came out a little uneven here, and that is probably going to bother me for a good majority of the game. But I will learn to deal with it. I don't want to talk about it. Let's try to bring this 4-lane road. Oh no, I did not want a tunnel. That is definitely not what I wanted. Let's bring this between these two. And then attempt to curve this around in a way that makes it not completely terrible. I think it would probably work like that over here. Apparently not. So I think what we're going to need to do is curve it like this. And curve it like this. Oh, come on, you can do it. Nope, stop snapping. Stop snapping. Okay. Now, can I bring these in? Oh, not quite. All right. I do kind of hate it, but I also kind of don't hate it at the same time. Okay, I'm getting annoyed with some of the angle snapping here. It is not being as friendly as it should be. Okay, totally not what I was going for there. So let's see if we can use Move It to make this suck a little bit less. In fact, I'm going to use this tool that I have not used yet to add, I believe this adds nodes. Yes, I would like to add a node right there. Perfect. Because now I should be able to take this node, pull this up here, and we can pull this like so. And probably want to mess with this node a little bit. Smooth things out slightly, bring this node down a bit. Because the elevation changes here are a little frustrating, to say the least. Come on now. Move It is kind of a lifesaver for making things not look terrible. I do think that this is one of the ugliest things I've ever done, but also simultaneously one of the coolest. Don't judge me. Alright, so turn Move It off. We want to make sure that... So these guys are going to come in... Oh, this is dumb, isn't it? Because these guys... Oh. These guys need to go this way. These guys need to go this way. So this is going to be a huge mess once traffic actually starts building up down here. Also, thank you for the trees on my road. I really appreciate that. We're going to immediately delete all of the trees in this little area right here. I apologize if that makes it look ugly, but also I need to get rid of the rocks. Props. Get off of my road. Alright, so I don't think that there's going to be much traffic down here, so I'm not too particularly concerned about it. I also just realized that I did the 4-lane with turning lane here. It's definitely not the road that I meant to do. Let's upgrade this. I mean, we will need to add turning lanes at some point. But I don't think we need them right off the bat. So I think this will work. We've got this going to fill in down here, this downtown area. Take a look at our zoning. That all looks solid. So the IT cluster should be nice for... Oh, which we hadn't actually done yet. Good thing I said that. All right, much better. So now we're going to get the giant skyscrapers of doom. Now, I realize that there's some power issues down here, but they just got cleared up. Perfect. So this is going to start to look pretty cool, I would guess. Yeah, I mean, look at how that is starting to fill in. This is exactly the look that I was going for. And again, aesthetics versus functionality. This may not be the most functional thing I've ever done. And I think that this little section here is going to have some merging problems as people try to come off of this ramp and then get across 3 lanes of traffic to go in the tunnel. But I also think that having easy access to our park down here is a very good thing for us. Oh, also something else I added in is park maintenance building, because we kind of need that if we're going to have a park. I think the next step is going to be to start adding public transit. So again, that's showing red, even though it's really not. And it's industry, so I'm sure it's going to be bad from time to time, but traffic flow is above 90, which for me, as long as it's above 90, I feel good. This is bothering me a little bit, honestly. I want to kind of make this... You know what? It looked fine. It seems like I'm making it look worse. So we'll just leave that alone for now. I realize that this whole thing is kind of bad, but eventually we will build an outer loop, and instead of this being a 3-way interchange, it'll kind of, like, the loop will kind of begin and end here, and it'll go around the outside of the city. We'll have exits at different parts, but obviously we kind of ran out of money. I think the first thing that's going to come into play public transit-wise is going to be a bus depot. So let's just drop one of those down here and then start doing bus lines. And you know how I said that the best part about the Circle City is the public transit? This is why. Oh, you need transit lines? Well, we're already building a circle, so how about you just build bus lines in a circle? And then the metro lines go out in a pattern that is more straight-lined. And by that I mean, well, basically you would start here and then just go straight out the city, just cutting through the rings at a perpendicular angle. Also, if I haven't talked about it before, Auto Lines Color Redux, you'll see it pop up here and stream it at some point. Automatically recoloring the lines and naming them is fantastic, and I highly, highly, highly recommend the mod. I believe I talked about some of the wonders of that mod in my advanced transit tutorial, which I would also recommend you go check out if you haven't seen it before, where I talk about this menu and all the wonderful things that it can do for you. But yeah, I really like the fact that you can just start building bus loops in a loop formation because you already built your city in a circle. And it will really move a lot of people between your city. And then once you add in metro to the equation, which you can certainly do trams instead of buses, and trams also look good. You can certainly do a monorail instead of metro. But I think that for functionality wise, it definitely seems like that buses and metro tend to be kind of the best ways to move people. And we may not necessarily need all of these bus lines. But I'm going to go ahead and build them out because it's highly likely that they will get at least some use. And any cars we can start getting off the road is a good thing. Now, that's probably a terrible spot for a bus stop. I'm going to move that down slightly so that they're not coming right off of that. And looks like people are using our tunnel. We'll hopefully start to see people going in there. And I realize that this is like a terrible intersection. In fact, it looks like there's a traffic light on there. There is. Traffic lights need to go. I apparently did not clean that up when I did the cross streets. So let's do that right now. Otherwise, we will run into crazy amounts of traffic down here with the increased density. But this is really what I was going for with this city in the first place, was getting to this point where now we've got this park area that is going to level up pretty quickly. We've got people coming off the highway right into downtown. We've got our IT cluster buildings. We've got our residential apartment buildings starting to come in. The land value is good. And if you look at this, the land value down here is green. It's looking really solid already. This should be buffered enough from the pollution. We should probably check just to make sure. Yeah, it's buffered just enough from the pollution. And I thought I went in and cleaned up all of this zoning, but apparently I did not. Just to make that suck a little bit less. So now we can add in a park chessboard into our Elizabeth Park down here. Which one is City Park? This one. Let's throw our chessboard right there. Why don't we? We have a crap load of residential demand. So you know how we solve that? Well, you start doing this. And this zoning is pretty crap, but I know that temporarily this will move out a lot of residents. But in the long run, this is a good solution to getting a lot more people to move in. Is just start working our way through the rings. Increasing the density of the buildings on that ring. And I know this is a bit of a tedious process, but I do like Let's Plays that show you most, if not all, of the details. And I did kind of mess that one up. So that's the type of Let's Play that I'm doing here, is I'm showing you my thought processes, the way that I do things. You see a lot of people move out, and then immediately some high density moves in. And we are rolling in the cash now, which is perfectly awesome. It's exactly what we were going for here. And we're going to need some high density commercial as well. Well, you know what we do with that is we come in here and we say, well, how about we don't zone that high density residential. We start doing high density commercial. And notice how that completely covered our residential demand and is covering our commercial demand in the process. And now we've got this nice little circle of skyscrapers in downtown. We're going to need another recycling plant, which is fine. In fact, an incinerator may not be a bad idea here. See if we can drop one in here. That'll get us some garbage processing. So, yeah, it thinks that there's traffic problems, but there's not. Now, there's traffic problems right here due to buses. So let's take a look at transport. Well, would you looky there? See, I wasn't lying when I said that people would be using the bus lines. So let's move this around and take a closer look at our bus lines. So this one ended up with basically the same color as this one, but that's perfectly okay. We've got, we sort by line name. Sure, okay, that makes sense. That's definitely the way that I would expect it to be sorted. Let's sort by number of passengers. So the number one obviously is not going to be used very much because people can walk. And it makes sense that the routes in the outer rings are going to be used a little bit more than the routes in the inner rings. The lowest passengers are these three. But look at how many people are using some of these outer rings. The center ring is definitely getting used very heavily. And we have some residential demand to fill in. Which we may not necessarily be able to meet by purely doing this whole deal here. But we're certainly going to try. Yeah, I know that that's like the worst place I could possibly zone that, but I'm trying not to worry too much about it right now. We are going to want Metro sooner rather than later. Now that there is some higher density in the center. So this is a cluster. Are there street lights? No, there's just buses. And I've had some issues with buses getting bugged, which appears to be happening here. Yeah, definitely appears that we are having some bugged buses. I am going to take this and move this stop down a little bit further so that if the buses get bugged, we run into less issues. Because that is definitely causing problems. I cleared that up for the moment. These little side streets are handling plenty of traffic. We can always upgrade them in the future if need be. But traffic flow is back up to 92%. And public transit, people are using it. And we've got a crap load of money. We've got a crap load of residential demand. So let's go back through and do the next level of loop. If I can click correctly. And if the residential demand keeps climbing at the rate that it is, we may need to go ahead and do an outer loop with some more suburbs. Or start doing our coastal suburbs. We've got a ton of money. We are swimming in cash, which is the lovely thing that happens. I'm going to just dezone that, give that high density. Which is a lovely thing that happens once you start building out high density and start building out your public transit networks. We're actually about to hit the next milestone, which is fantastic as well. Certainly happy about that. In fact, we will hit it right now. Perfect. And so we are now a small city, and this gives us access to the train, which we are probably going to use before too terribly long, as well as high-tech housing. And we're not going to use monorail. I don't like monorails in circle cities. Like, they work. They certainly can move a lot of people. But I'm honestly just going to keep it on 3 times speed and check the traffic flow again. So again, I definitely expect this to be a problem, and we may want to... In fact, I'm going to do this now. Just purely to handle more cars, I'm going to upgrade that to a 4-lane. Which shouldn't have turned on traffic lights. Oh, look at that. Look at how many people are actually using this highway down here. A lot of people coming out onto this center circle, which is exactly what we wanted. In fact, they can come out down here and then start propagating out into the outer rings. So we've started hitting a bit of a growth concern. And I think what I'm going to do is build Metro with the game paused, and then figure out what our next steps are going to be off camera. We're definitely kind of getting near the time limit for this video anyways. Now, the interesting thing is I don't want to mess with the zoning, but I do want these metro stations to be pointed outwards, which makes it more difficult than I was thinking. Because really, I want it on this side street. But what I think I will do instead is put it right next to this bus stop. Now, I hate it. But if I mess with the zoning on this, just to see how bad it messes with things. Okay, maybe not that terribly. Can I do this and only knock out 1 building? Yes, I can. And I bet if I turn on zoning on these, it will mess things up a little bit. But it allows us to do the metro the way that I wanted to do it. So we're going to have to turn on zoning on these, which really I like turning off zoning to make the zoning a little bit more crisp and to make it work properly with... there's no bus stop nearby, so we are going to want to revisit the bus stops after we finish doing this. I think... So we could blow this building away, and what I'm going to do is build just a tiny little two-way, tiny little 2-lane road here. It goes up like so. And drop the metro line right there. And it's not the most elegant thing in the world, but I'm sure you can see where this is going. Now let's go back here, and we're going to need to enable zoning on each of these little corner streets. On that one, we only have to turn it on one of them. And then we're going to need to build a tiny little 2-lane there, which this is probably putting a traffic light there, which is definitely not what we want. Probably did the same thing up here. Yes, it did. So don't do that. If there are any cars there, they should stop. I doubt there ever will be, but it also wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So we're going to run these like so. Right along this corridor. And what you may be surprised by is how much these will end up getting used. Instead of driving around, people will absolutely take the metro. Now, this is something that I was very much afraid of, was what's going to happen with my highway here. And we may need the highway to go even further underground, which looks like is what we're going to have to do. Give me tunnels or give me death. So let's demolish. Come on now. There we go. Gotcha. So definitely let's bring these tunnels down even further, even lower than they already are. That should be fine there. Okay. 20 meters should be low enough to make this work. And if not, I will be slightly upset. Aha! There you go. So now look at how perfect this first metro line is going to be. You just go right through there and back again. And there you go. It could not be more perfect. I mean, it looks a little terrible, but I don't care that much. And then we're literally just going to do the same thing, going in an X pattern. We'll probably add in a couple more, you know, make more slices of the pizza, because pizza is amazing, and more slices obviously means more food, because that's totally how math works. But I think I'm going to stop here for now. I'll do that little bit off camera, and then we'll kind of take a look at our city now that we've hit 9,500 and start seeing how we're going to expand. We've got some demand creeping up, but I really like the way that this has worked out. The buses immediately started getting used. We're going to hit 10K here pretty quickly. City services are in a good spot. Traffic is doing good. I'm really liking how things are going so far. These videos will be going up, I want to say Tuesday and Thursday of this week. So I am not entirely sure if I will be able to respond to any comments, because I may be doing some more recording before then, because I want to make sure I'm good for the weekend. But either way, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, hit me with a like or comment. It helps out a lot. Also subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Check out the community Discord to connect with me directly. And if you're interested in donating to my channel, there's a Patreon link in the description. Otherwise, I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I will catch you on the next one.